Hi, this is Brian and Trish Sykes, and we're setting out on something brand new. We've been talking about this for over a year at least, probably a couple years. It's kind of like the next stage of our adventure in life, and it's coming up on us fairly soon, within 15 months?
15.
It's kind of hard to explain in one little session, but we thought we'd start by kind of introducing ourselves, telling a little bit about the idea that we have, and we're going to document the whole process. So even though this adventure we're looking at is 15 months away, there's a lot of thought that's going to go into the planning and preparing and getting ready for all of that. And this is not for everybody. This is something we've actually discovered in the process of discussing it with others, is to find that the thing we're discussing seems odd, and there's a lot of interesting questions that come with it. But for no other reason than what? It's an opportunity to have an adventure. I read a recent book, or the beginning of a book, and the guy was describing an adventure he and his wife did as city dating. And so maybe that's a little bit of what this is. But so let's start from the beginning.
Okay, so where we are now, right now.
Yeah.
A snapshot of who and where we are. Not really who we are, but what we do. And
Right.
I'm Trish, Brian. We've been married 5 years this month, right?
Right.
Okay. We both work remotely from home and have for many years.
Yeah.
So there's not a workplace to go to. So that's something on the list of things we're going to be considering. We are debt-free. We worked really hard when we first got married to eliminate all debt, and we've stayed out of debt the whole time, and that's just the way we like to live our lives. And in that time, we've been trying to also save money for a down payment on our forever home, whatever permanence there is to that, really, which life has taught us forever is not necessarily the proper word for what that home will be, but it's our hope that we would find a home to buy that's more permanent. We currently rent. We've been renting for the 5 years we've been married, same place, and we live in North Carolina right now.
Yeah.
And both of us have lived in North Carolina for years. I moved around a lot earlier in life, and you've mostly been in North Carolina your whole life.
I have. I grew up in North Carolina in the Hillsborough area, went to college in Florida for 4 years, and basically since then have lived in North Carolina in different spots, mostly in the what's considered Moore County region, which is Southern Pines, Pinehurst, Carthage. And it's funny because as we're thinking about this next step, I've mentioned to Trish multiple times that almost every year for the past decade, Southern Pines and Pinehurst ends up on the top 10 places to live. And so it's kind of funny that we're actually looking at leaving this location for our next spot.
So that was one of the first prompters for us to consider this plan is, okay, we're getting closer to buying a house, and we didn't have a where to.
Right.
We just had a where not, and this happened to be our first not place, which is really unusual to most people to try to comprehend. This is where we raised our children the majority of their lives. Some of them are still here. We have 8 kids between us. Brian has 5 boys, and I have 2 girls and a boy, and all but one are now technically adults.
Yes.
So that was the second thing that made our determinant on the when of what we're doing is our last child is graduating high school next June of 2026, which has been a very big pin on the calendar month and year for us to know, okay, what then?
Right.
So we knew what not. We just want to know that where we decide to really put down a home route is going to be what we want. And so until we have something to compare it to, we have to say this is our not place for now. It'd be hilarious if we spend this next bit of adventure time just to come a full circle and land here and put our roots down. But we don't know. We don't know where it is. And so that was the second part is we knew not what the not is. And of course, we're set up very well to do what our plan is as far as working remotely. We have no debt. We have a savings that can help cushion, variable lifestyle things. And then the timeline is kicking off when the last child has a need for our permanence as far as our physical location.
Right. And part of this as we've thought about where next has centered around a lot of different things. For one, as mentioned, there are 8 kids between us, and we want to be able to be flexible enough to visit wherever they are. Right now, we're looking at, within the next year, we're going to have one of our kids in Utah, one of our kids in Colorado. One presently is in Raleigh, or two in Raleigh. One is looking to stay in the Moore County area. Not sure where that's going to happen. Another is looking
to join the Air Force.
Yeah, and another is in the military.
And he's in Germany.
Yeah, so we're kind of like all over. So no one location is going to hit everybody.
Oh, and we've got one variable child. We left a child out. There's a lot of them. One who does not know where he will land. It will depend on work. He's in college right now in the western part of North Carolina.
And he's hinted at Texas as a place. So,
but he also, again, the need for a permanent place to come home to in the summers is going away because he spends his summers not coming home. He does other work that takes him all over the place. So it might actually kind of line up with his lifestyle too for a little bit.
Yeah. So here's the thing. What we're looking at doing is, once our youngest graduates from high school and begins his life adventure, he's looking, yes, as mentioned already, into pursuing something with the Air Force. He'd love to be a pilot. But for us, our next phase then is we're going to begin hitting the road and traveling all across the United States. And
what's everybody's first question when we tell them we're going to do that?
Are you going to do it with an RV? That's
the answer is no.
So this is the one thing that's kind of different about our approach is we're not RV people. We don't have an RV and not really an interest in trying to do that. I mean, I could do it
maybe as a vacation-y type thing, but not as a lifestyle.
Right. That's just not for us at this point. So what we're looking at is, what are those things called? Short-term
rentals.
Yeah.
Typically, they're in place for nomadic professionals, people who do short-term contract work in large urban areas. Rental programs out there that allow for that. So we'll be using short-term rentals they're furnished, they're everything you need. We won't have to move our things a lot as far as our needs for daily living. They include utilities. It keeps it simple and keeps it temporary, which is wild because I feel like we've kind of been living temporarily for so long. So I didn't know that this would be such a draw, but it allows us as remote workers to literally live in an area, in a region, and get the feel for the place. Have our weekends to go out and explore community, which is important to us.
Yeah.
The areas for sort of outdoor activities that we like to do, we typically I would call us more like a hiker type of couples. We don't go, super competitive physical activity. It's not our thing. But we do like to get out and move. We like to get out and walk and hike and explore and look around. So we're going to be doing that in different areas of the country while also exploring regional affordability for long-term living, like cost of living in an area or a state. We'll be considering tax implications for our now life and our retired life,
right?
Because anything's possible. And our ultimate goal is to live in a paid-for house.
Yes.
And so if you don't know, when you have your mortgage completely paid off, I know a lot of people don't know what that feels like, but I want to know what that feels like. So even still you owe. And so things that you need to think about if you're considering owning outright your home long-term is that every year you will still owe property taxes. So that's an implication that we'll be considering in the different areas we live in the states, and regions is like, do they have exorbitant property taxes? Because then being without a mortgage and having property taxes that are basically the size of a mortgage really doesn't put us in a position that we're looking to be in more long-term and permanently. And of course there's homeowners insurance, which can vary by region as well. I think Florida's pretty much out for a permanent squat just because getting the homeowners insurance we have understood to be more difficult than average and can be much more expensive. Property taxes, we love Texas, but property taxes in Texas are kind of taking Texas off the map as far as consideration for permanence.
Right. Even owning a house in Texas at this point would still cost us the cost of a mortgage just
in property taxes.
Yeah, so that becomes a detriment to what our interest would be. And so this is the interesting thing is we're looking at traveling for 3 years.
Yeah,
and
interrupted, sorry.
No, this is what's fun is kind of with this 3-year span, we've kind of plotted where do we want to go. Now, part of that is definitely going to be places we will never live, or at least at this point don't consider a possibility of a place we'd want to live.
And the factors are why. Why would we never? Because that might be insulting to
Sure.
some locals that are like, why wouldn't you want to make this home? What's bad about it? That's not
True.
it.
Yeah, there's some places that we figure, for one, are outside of our price range as far as long-term living, where even if we got a house, the property tax would be too much, or just the cost of living. You know, we're North Carolina natives currently, as far as we've been here for so many years. I've had my entire life here, Trish, a good portion now, or at least in the Southeast. And so when we're thinking about long-term living, we're kind of accustomed to this climate. So it's kind of funny. We keep bringing back, what if we end up back in North Carolina?
It's not impossible.
Yeah, but there's places like I know up in the New England, I love the New England states. And actually one of the places we're looking at starting our adventure, but I know for a fact the temperature is a lot different than here once you get into those colder months. So that's some of the areas that just aren't of interest for that long-term living.
Yeah, considering, I mean, we're not old people now, but if we're looking at a place where we'll turn into old people and we want to sustain our long-term independence, the idea of two people not accustomed to just general life and lifestyle in extreme cold winters kind of makes me feel like that knocks it off the map. Not that, yeah, at first it was like just the discomfort of cold that knocked it off the map for me. But now I'm like, you know, that's not really it. It's, can we manage our life independently way down the line when we're old people in a climate we didn't just basically grow accustomed to and grow up in and know how to manage that properly and safely. Yeah. I think that kind of takes it off the map for us for climate. Climate's a big one for us.
Right. So this is an adventure we're learning, and what we thought would be fun is to share our learning process with you so you can see our thought process. You can kind of join in to understand what's making our decisions as we kind of move forward. And we'd love to get engagement and feedback as we're discussing, okay, this is the city and the town we're looking at moving to for the next month. What are some things you'd recommend? Because we'd love to kind of get feedback from the community of other people who live in these areas and who would say, hey, when you're down in that area, this is what I highly recommend. You know, there's definitely the commercial aspects of this is the cool thing to do in this area that everybody knows
known for.
But Trish and I both kind of like the insider knowledge of what's really unique.
Especially if it tends to be a higher tourist area in general, as opposed to like some small community nobody knows about. If it's a high tourist area or region, we love to know what the locals do. What do you prefer to do when it's high tourist season? Like, obviously, some like to go right in the thick of it. Others like to know their hidden secrets of, oh, let's scoot over here and avoid the crowds, but this is the great place to be. This is where you know you're home.
Now, for anchors, as far as things that we're really interested in for long term, you know, Trish has already mentioned that we are more hikers and outdoors people. We like to go do things as far as seeing national sites, as far as beautiful wonders of parks, and
we like museums.
We love museums. But like some of the other things that are important to us is we love the intellectual aspect. So being near a college town is valuable because we can be around other intellectuals who like to think and discuss and have deeper conversations. Another thing that's important is where we live now is 1 hour from a international airport. So RDU is just down the road. It's very convenient, and I don't mind the hour drive to get there. We also are an hour from Greensboro, 2 hours from Charlotte, so we can go to off those airports as well. So that's a really big draw for us. Another thing is medical. We're both in our 50s now, and while we're doing great, it's good also to have good access to quality health care for the long term, because we want to be as healthy as we can for as long as we can, and also be able to see to that. So that's important to us, and we have so many of our friends who will drive multiple hours to go to the Duke University or UNC, which
States
is
away.
Right. And this
are we going to end up in North Carolina?
Who knows?
It sounds like you're describing our forever home here.
So this is part of the adventure, is where we go. And so we've got some basic ideas. And what's funny is every time we sit to our initial plan, it changes, it varies.
For sure.
But we're going to put out some rough ideas of places that we're thinking of where we're going to go and maybe the sequence we're going to do it. But be aware that probably the next time we share it, it's going to be
different.
Yeah. And that's just because we love the beauty and the flexibility of choice. Also, as we get to these locations, there's going to be a number of things that we look for. So as we travel, we already have a kind of process for things we look for right away. So Trish, what are our go-to things each time we land in a location?
Okay, so when we go on a vacation type trip, a few days in a location, we're going to look for, we have a focus, a bakery,
Yep.
good coffee, which might be the same place, so great. A high place where you can see far and get a lay of the land. So, any elevation that we can get to kind of get even if it's the top of a really tall building,
right,
to kind of get a lay of the land. Water. So if there's any water nearby, we want to know where it is, what it's about, and go feel the vibe of it. And park. So any purposeful green space or even non-purposeful, just kind of really get an idea for the green space in an area and get into it, even if it's just to walk a trail or go out in a field, just whatever the area's green space has to offer park-wise, like a public gathering. Those are the 5. Did I get it all?
I think so.
The 5 main things we look for, either right before we go to kind of check them off. We want to hit those places to say that we've done that. It gives us a good idea of an area or a city in the ways that are important to us.
Right. And we enjoy the local flavor. That's really fun.
Love to eat.
Yeah. I mean, finding something that's unique to an area that everybody that lives in that area is kind of accustomed to. It's kind of fun to go in and experience that and then find out who does the best variety of that. One thing we're really excited about is having a month in a location. In some places, we'll spend more months as we get close to our children.
I guess we didn't say that. So we will spend 1 to 3 months in each temporary short-term location.
Yeah. Okay. And so one of the fun things with our locations is being there for a month. It gives us the flexibility to work during the day. And then we have our mornings and our evenings and our entire weekend really to focus on getting to explore an area. We're going to try to live simply like we do now. It's going to be on the road. And this will be an adventure. I think this is such a novel thing. I don't know of anybody else who's currently doing this way.
I think that to some degree, maybe traveling nurses get a feel for this, but I don't know that their mission isn't the same.
Right.
And so our mission is to do our current work in new locations and actually do the living there too.
Right.
A lot of, from what I understand, contract nurses, they're working their booties off and then they're sleeping, or they're maybe in a cool area and they're like, oh, cool, I get to go out and do the thing, on their off time. But our mission is to be there is to explore the area and understand its culture, community, its people, its weather, and just what it has to offer for us that we're looking for.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it here, and you'll see us with some frequency, some regularity, because what I want to try to do is really capture this for our benefit, for others who might consider this an option for themselves, but also...
Okay. A lot of this at first is going to be watching us think out loud, I think, because that's kind of how we decided to just start it. You got to start somewhere. I'm sure I'm already laughing in advance at how clunky this will look to us in 3 years when we look back, but it's okay. That's what we do, and we're real. So thinking out loud and recording that is something we've talked about a lot of times and never done it. So now that's what we're going to get. And if you don't like it, we're open to suggestions, but we have to start somewhere, and that's just a thing to capture because we talk about this a lot. We think and plan about it out loud a lot. So actually capturing it and recording it is important to us right now.
Yeah, and we think it might be valuable to our kids at some point. And though we have none yet, our grandkids. I would have loved to have more information about my parents, a better understanding. Not till I got to 40 and 50 did I understand more about what life was like. So getting a better grasp of what life is about could be really valuable. So anyway, this is Brian and Trish, and we do not yet know what to call this channel, so it'll probably change in the process. We
should probably note that some of our children, even though we have no grandchildren, have decided our grandparent name. Our grandparent names will be Booby and Tinkle. Brian, B, and Trish, T. BTW, I wonder. Brian and Trish for the win. I don't know. We'll come up with a name, or maybe we won't. We'll just be Brian and Trish.
I'm not a fan of Booby and Tinkle, just saying.
I think the more we push against it, the more it'll grind in. So we better just go along with it, ha ha ha, and then let the babies decide. Maybe we can whisper in their ear something different.
So, if you've watched this far along, thank you, and do like and leave any comments. We'd love to kind of hear back from you guys what your
Questions
thoughts are.
too. Yeah, like things of how do you, we'll definitely be recording a question because we have questions of things to consider, like what about mail? What about voting? Well, we'll have to run down our car situation too. Yeah. What about pets? What about church? What about where do I get my hair cut? What about medicine?
Dental.
On the road. Dental, vision, all kinds of stuff. We have a lot of things to figure out. We feel like we've got some of it figured out, but we probably don't. And your questions will probably help us get on the right path to be super prepared to make the best of this trip.
Yeah, and so we're only scratching the surface, but hopefully this will be entertaining, if nothing else. It'll be a great thing for us to kind of work out the kinks as we're kind of making our plans. And we're both a little bit of adventurous sorts as far as trying new things. So we shall see where this goes. But until our next video, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.